You know the vibes. Welcome to another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast brought to you by NBA 2K23. I am Mo Mootsie, alongside me as always, the one and only Mr. BJ Armstrong. BJ, how you doing today?
well, Mo, I learn something new every day. And how you doing, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing a lot better than one of my friends who lives in New Orleans is doing today. That's all I will say. I'm doing a lot better than my brother in New Orleans. That's all I'm going to say. That's a long day. That's a long day down there in New Orleans today.
Yeah, it's a long day for everybody. But hey, we're getting through it.
It was also a long day for the Miami Heat. You like that segue?
Yeah,
you like that segue? You like that?
I do like that segue. I do like that segue. It's
There was no playing around as they got bounced out of the arena by the Denver Nuggets. 109-94, respectable scoreline, but it realistically wasn't that close. You know, the Miami Heat put their bench in at the end of the game, to kind of cut down the lead a little bit, but the Nuggets were up by 21 at one point in the game. So the Denver Nuggets regained home court advantage by winning game 3. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, I think the first pair of teammates to have 30-point triple-doubles in a finals game. Jokic, the first ever player to have 32, 21, and 10 in a finals game. Murray had 34, 10, and 10. Not a big night for their role players. I mean, Aaron Gordon had 11. Christian Brown, who we're going to talk about on this show, had 15. They got it done. On the other side, Jimmy had 28, Bam had 22. But then the rest of the Miami Heat players really struggled. Caleb Martin had 10. Kyle Lowry had 9. Strus only finished with 3 points. Doug Robinson had 9. Kevin Love had 6. Gabe Vincent had 7. He was in a lot of foul trouble tonight. What was your big takeaway from this game 3?
Well, the attention to detail as compared to game 2, when you saw a lot of missed defensive assignments.
Yeah.
You saw a lot of confusion on what they were supposed to do against certain matchups. Today, they were very crisp. Today, they understood the assignment, and they looked like they were ready to go. And as I said, Mo, I say it again, it's easier to play in the NBA Finals, in my opinion, on the road than it is at home.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of momentum talked about what was gained by the Miami Heat after game 2. Now they're going home.
You called it
good. And then the expectations of going home. Mo, it's just easier because there's so many distractions. And when you get on the road, Mo, it's just you get in that hotel room in the NBA Finals and you have the opportunity to shut your phones off. You have the opportunity to do not disturb on the door. Mm-hmm. You have the opportunity, you got a built-in excuse to say, hey, I got practice or I got film or whatever. And you could just take a deep breath. But when you're at home, Mo, you got your family, you got your kids, you got tickets, you got, what time I'm leaving for the arena, you got traffic.
Yeah, some players have got their girl, and then they got their other girl, and then they got their other girl.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Then you check your phone, and Twitter's going crazy.
I can just say this: there's a lot of distractions at home now, Mo. You can see how difficult it is, and Mo, by the way, you have the expectations of winning at home, like you're coming home.
Yeah.
So great job by the Denver Nuggets. Now, Mo, the real game is game 4. Because let me say this here. If Miami loses in game 4, you can just about wrap this puppy up.
Yeah.
If they lose this one. Now, so this is a must game for them. Coach Spo took his guys out with about I think a little under 2 minutes to get ready, because now this is going to, in my opinion, it's going to favor the Denver Nuggets because they're a little deeper than the Miami Heat. So.
I mean, he gave extended run. Murray played 44 minutes. Jokic played 44 minutes. He kept them in. He didn't go to his usual substitution bands, to start the fourth quarter. He kept his guys in. he found nice little pockets of rest for his guys to get out of the game, but to the large part, he kept his 2 stars out there on the court.
Yeah, I mean, he did. But you know what? Give those guys credit. Give Denver credit. Denver came out. They were really crisp. And this kid, Christian Brown, I mean, wow. I mean, you talk about these guys who come in and play. He gave them a jolt of energy coming off the bench. He played about 20 minutes or so. It was in double figure scoring.
He played the fourth quarter
nice job.
instead of
Mike really did a nice job.
So this is one thing. I want to shout out to Coach Michael Malone, because maybe or maybe not, he has subscribed to a certain newsletter that goes out every day called the Hoop Genius newsletter that I write every day. And in that newsletter, I wrote that with Michael Porter Jr., I actually quoted BJ Armstrong because you talk about unexpected contributions. And I said, well, we need the expected contribution of Michael Porter Jr. And if he can't contribute on the offensive side, he was 3 of 17 from 3 going into this game. Tonight, he was, what was Michael Porter Jr. tonight? He was 1 of 7 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. Defensively, he's not the strongest defender. Game 1, we praised his defensive efforts. Game 2, he was shocking on defense. Tonight, he was a bit better. But I said, if he's not got it going, you need to play Christian Brown instead of him. And that's exactly what Mike Malone did. But before we talk more about Christian Brown, right, I wanted to ask you about this, because also in that newsletter, which you can subscribe to for free by hitting the link in the description, or if you want to help support the journey, it's £1 a month with the offer for the NBA Finals. But anyway, Michael Porter Jr. said this after game 2, right? Because we talked about the miscommunication of Denver on defense in game 2. Michael Porter Jr. said they're playing off our coverages. They're hearing what we're communicating to each other, and they're doing the opposite. So if we say switch, they're slipping out for open threes. And if we don't say switch, they're actually going to set the screen. I wanted to ask you to break down for the people, when you're calling out your coverage on defense, right? Say you're the guard, I'm the big. My players come in to set a screen, call out switch, so we're going to switch the action. If the other team then slip or whatever it is, how do you get around that? The other team reacting to what you're calling out? Do you come up with some sort of code? Do you just decide what you're going to do before, like during a timeout, so that you don't have to call out the coverage? How did the Nuggets get around that?
Well, Mo, when I say they were crisp, when I say there's attention in the details, Mo, when you're playing against a good team, the offense has a significant advantage. Why? Because the offense should have a counter to everything that is happening on the defensive end. I don't know what Mo is going to do. However, I have to stay principled by saying whatever Mo's going to do, I'm going to abide by the principles. Man, you ball. Now, if you get lazy and you say switch and you don't do it with a sound defensive principle, then Mo, I have an advantage. You're going to switch, but then you're allowing bodies to run free. Okay? And what I mean by allowing bodies to go free, Mo, there's a certain physicality that you have to play with the game. So when a man goes to set a screen, Mo, you have to meet that force with force. When people start running free is when you have an advantage as an offensive player, because now you're dictating to the defense on what can happen.
Yeah.
But if I keep man, you ball, and I always stay in between man, you ball and that principle, it doesn't matter what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter. Like, okay, Mo, you switch, I'm there. You set the screen, I'm there.
Yeah.
So when you hear coaches, and Coach Spoelstra says it all the time, we're going to force you and we're going to do everything the hard way, meaning we're going to force you to play defense with the principles that most people don't want to do. Everyone wants to take the easiest route. Okay, so if you're going to just let me, Mo, run up to a screen and you don't put a hand on me and you don't put a body on me, then, Mo, I can do whatever I want. So what he was basically saying was, hey, I was calling out the defensive assignment. So he basically was telling on himself. So, so Coach Malone said, okay, we can't play that way. We have to put bodies. How many times you hear this? We have to put bodies on people.
Yep.
We can't let people just run around. And Mo says, hey, I think I'm going to go set a screen on BJ. And I go, and the defense goes, okay, Mo, go right ahead. No, Mo, you're actually trying to supply resistance to whatever they're trying to do. So I hope that's what Michael Porter was saying. I hope that's what he wasn't saying, I should say. And that you could see tonight they made the adjustment. I thought Denver did a great job. They were very physical. They came out and they played. They didn't miss any assignments. Now, I don't know what the offense is going to do. However, what I do know is that I'm going to be there to contest and show resistance to whatever you're trying to do. And I'm going to fight you for every loose ball, every screen, I'm going to fight over the picks. I'm going to do that. And then a good offense is going to have a counter. If you play good defense, Mo, I can counter that by doing whatever is necessary. So that's how that works.
Well, speaking of playing with force and doing kind of some of the dirty work, Christian Brown, absolutely sensational. The rookie for the Denver Nuggets, 15 points, 7 of 8 from the field. He was amazing in this, whether it's offensive rebounds, whether it's diving on loose balls, whether it's playing defense, whether it's being an active off-ball cutter, because his three-point attempt clanged off the side of the backboard. So he made sure that he was cutting when defenses went to go, say Aaron Gordon has a mismatch and they go to double him, he would cut. They go to double Jokic, he would cut and just take layups on layups, get out in transition, cause steals, get out in transition, layups. He had an amazing game. And on the defensive end of the ball, he held his own as well. So it's rare that we see these kind of contributions from rookies in the NBA Finals. On the other hand, Michael Porter Jr., going back to him having a horrendous series, what can he do to break out the slump? Is it just a question of, because he had a couple nice offensive rebounds. One of them led to another basketball to a foul.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I would, if Michael Porter Jr. was here, my advice to him would be very simply: don't allow your offense to dictate whether you play well or not. Okay, and we're talking about Christian Brown because of what he did on the defensive end. He did all the dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
He got offensive rebounds. He got steals, which led to transition. When they were doubling or rotating to Jamal Murray and of course Jokic, he was there to cut, to provide the spacing, make himself available. He did all of the things that you have to do, and he was a star in his role. That's it. Now, that's it. Now, he also happened to make those shots, so that was an added bonus. Okay. So my thing would be, okay, if you make your shots, phenomenal. But there's also opportunities to do all the other things to assist the guys, because let me assure you, the formula is very simple when you get to this level. Star players have to be stars, and role players have to be stars in their role.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So, Michael Porter, hey, just be a star in your role. Here's your role: defend, rebound, which I thought he did a good job today. He did rebound the basketball, but getting steals, being a lockdown defender, help recover, taking charges. Those are the things that's needed to win an NBA championship. And a lot of times, Mo, when you hit your threes, that's fantastic. Or you hit your shots, that's great. But let me tell you something. Coming off the bench or playing in limited minutes, Mo, when you know that the coach is looking for contributors. He's looking for contributions. And those contributions, like that kid made one heck of a steal this evening, talking about Christian Brown, where he stole the ball, was able, Mo, that was just all effort in transition.
Scored the dunk.
Mo, those are just effort plays, right? That has nothing to do with whether you're open or not. He went out there and he made a play. Mm-hmm. And that's just effort and energy. So, it's all a process. And look, Michael Porter is a very capable player. However, he is an offensive player. That's what he is. Mo, he only took 7 shots tonight. But he's also capable of making 5 or 6 shots in a row. That's how good of an offensive player he is. But tonight, I don't think there was going to be a lot of opportunity because those two guys were simply sensational on the offensive end, talking about Jamal Murray, and Mr. Jokic.
Yes, sir. Well, the Miami Heat role players had a tough time tonight. They had their 3-point shooting kind of came back down to earth a little bit, 11 of 35. That's 31% from 3-point land. But it wasn't just a bad shooting night. It was the amount of uncontested shots or the amount of wide open shots they got was way less than what they had in game 2. Goes back to what you said about Denver communicating on defense. I also think they did a great job of when there was a shooter in the corner or a shooter on the wing, the Nuggets would make sure they close out to them, and then they'd figure out the rest of the defense after that. Not worried about if they move the ball, they would figure that out after. So credit to the Nuggets for being locked in. The zone of Miami, they didn't go to it as much in this one. I think in the last game, when you saw the zone, I did a breakdown of it on my YouTube channel, where they would have Nikola Jokic in the middle of the court and they'd have someone denying the catch, and then he would kind of not have much time and he'd try and make a play. This time, as soon as he got the ball in the middle, he would straight away spin and attack towards the basket going downhill. And that was a big problem for Miami, because when he's doing that, it does collapse the zone. I think the other thing as well, watching Jokic, everyone's talking about right now, is how soft his touch is around the basket. Like every shot that hits the rim seems to just gently fall into the hoop compared to clanging out. How does he manage this? Like, how is he doing this? Because he's 7 foot. Like, you don't see guys that size have such a soft touch around the basket.
Well, well, like we're so quick to like say, put this person in a box, okay? And when you see a great player, Mo, it always gives you like, I haven't seen that before. Mo, he's an interesting player because he screened, he rolls, but he shoots floaters and runners.
Ain't no dunks.
Okay. And then he'll get down there and he'll play like a big guy. Then he'll pass. I mean, well, he's just listen, if I understood how he did it, I would be able to teach it to someone else. If I understood how he did it, I probably would be able to do it myself. I mean, Mo, he's just an interesting player. Like, well, I've been saying this for years, so I'll say it for the last time. He's the most charming player I've ever seen. He's just, you go, all right, whatever we think a big man's supposed to be, it doesn't really apply to him. Because how many big guys can go the full length of the floor with their offhand and finish at the basket? How many guys can pass off the dribble like him in a full stride? How many guys can shoot a three, one hand, fake it, spin, put it behind his back, and then shoot off his
when the shot
right leg
expiring?
He just does things. You go, okay, I can get frustrated if I'm the defense, or just say that's how he plays. I mean, Mo, how does he do it? I have no idea. But what I do know, Mo, is that it's not luck. That's what he does. You know what I mean? Like, that's his game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to watch because it's so unexpected. Like he goes to the middle, jumps off his right leg, and flips up the shot and just goes in and just like hits every part of the basket and rolls in. And he consistently does this. Well, I would love to know what his numbers are once he gets in the paint. I bet he shoots over 60%. He probably shoots around 65, 70% in the paint. He just has great hands, a great feel for the game. So he's just an incredible player.
Looking at the stat sheet tonight, what's crazy is Miami took 92 more shots than the Denver Nuggets. But the 92? Denver Nuggets, not 92 more. They shot 92 shots. The Denver Nuggets shot 80 shots. So they had 12 more attempts. That would be crazy if they had 92 more shots. But the Nuggets converted at 51% compared to 37% from the Heat. The large part of that is the Nuggets only took 18 threes. The Heat couldn't keep them out of paint. The Heat shot 35 threes. And, credit to the Heat, they didn't turn the ball over. They had 4 turnovers compared to 13 for Denver. But the real advantage for Denver was on the boards. Jokic had 21 of their 65 total rebounds. The Heat as a team had 41 total rebounds. They completely controlled the glass. They had obviously so much size when they get into the paint. But the Heat just simply couldn't stop the two-man game of Jokic and Murray, and they couldn't stop either of them from getting into the painted area. So I don't know what the Heat can do now, looking at the next game. Their whole thing of, we're going to turn Jokic into a scorer and not a pass. Like, you can't do that. You can't. You can do it once, maybe. But that's not a strategy to go into the game.
Well, Mo, those philosophies or philosophical, gymnastics, they sound great. The core of the game is you have to get stops.
Yep.
When a team shoots over 50%, Mo, that means you're taking the ball out of bounds 5 versus 5 half of the time or half of your possessions. We all know, Mo, it's way more difficult to shoot a contested shot. Mm-hmm. That's why everyone is trying to get the ball down as quickly as they can. You see,
and
Bam trying to push the ball down.
Aaron Gordon did a great job of that tonight. Every time he got a rebound, he was pushing the pace down the court.
Because you want to play advantage basketball against a defense that's not set up. That's just what it is. Now, we can look at the stats and we can say all these things, but it just comes down, Mo, to one simple fundamental thing that has to happen in the game. Can you get a stop? If you can get a stop, Mo, now I can play in transition, get out, and figure out how to play, provided I pass the ball, I cut, I do those things. It's really hard to play that way. So, Mo, if you told me that I'm going to shoot 50%, that means, as every coach will tell you in the locker room, they probably won't say it because it's not fun to say. If you want to win in this league, Mo, you got to play defense. Mo, like, you know what I mean?
It was a big point of emphasis for Mike Malone. You heard the little excerpts of him talking to his team. Defense was the emphasis. Yes. It always is.
That's, Mo, I love it when people say, oh, the game has changed, or, this generation is different than the previous. No, they're not. Everyone's playing the same way. Championship caliber basketball is played one way. You defend, you rebound, and you pass the ball. That's why they won. Now, it's nice when you make threes. That's a storyline. It's nice when someone gets 8 block shots in a game. You go, oh my gosh, he controlled the game. But the basis of the game is those fundamental core values that you have to have. And give Denver credit. I mean, Denver played, I thought Denver played the way they wanted to play in game 2. They just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
But now they got
maybe they needed that wake-up call.
Yeah, well, Mo, there's a reason Miami got here. I mean, Miami's a good team. It's not like Miami went away tonight. I mean, Miami, they got it
down to 9 points in the last minute of the game.
Yeah, they were there, but you know what? It's going to be hard when you only shoot 30-some% from the field, Mo. That's really hard to do. I mean, you got to shoot 45%. You got to shoot within 10% of what the other team does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you shoot 37% and they shoot 39%, okay, that's okay. If you shoot 37% and they shoot, what'd you say, 51%?
Yep.
Mo, it's too large of a deficit. And the only way you can close that deficit is with 3-point shooting. And it wasn't like they were particularly hot from 3. I don't know what they ended up
11
shooting.
of 35, 31%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's just not going to get it done. But give Denver credit. Denver did an excellent job on the defensive end.
So looking ahead to the next game, what can the Miami Heat possibly be looking to do aside from play better defense? Because they really are seeming to run out of answers. Like, when I saw them trapping Jamal Murray, throwing 2 defenders off him off the 2-man action, I was like, okay, that as great as Spo is, there's only so much you can do. Because, all right, you're gonna take the ball out of Jamal Murray's hands. Nikola Jokic is right there. Good luck.
Well, what you did see them do, Mo, which I thought was interesting, was they pre-rotated to Jokic, and they stole the ball a couple of times from Jokic here this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the great thing was that Jamal Murray did was he took on the double team. Now, Mo, that's really hard to do. And the only reason I'm saying this, because as a guard, it's very hard to do is to take on a double team off the dribble. Normally, when you take on a double team, and what that means to our listeners is you pass the ball to a post player. The post player will allow the team to double team him so that he can create an advantage for his offensive team.
We saw Jimmy Butler doing that.
Jimmy Butler did it. Jokic does this all the time. Normally, you'll see bigger players doing that. Why? It's because they're big enough and strong enough to take on the double team, wait for the double team to get there, and then make the pass. Well, Jamal Murray isn't like the biggest guy when Bam comes and double teams him off the dribble. Okay. And normally you have an advantage because Bam is not only a bigger body than Jamal Murray, he's quick.
He can guard.
So it's not like he can guard on the perimeter. But Jamal Murray did a couple passes tonight that were just really, there's nothing you can do because he can look Jokic off and pass to the other guy that's in the dunker spot as he's dribbling the ball out in the top of the top of the key area, which Mo is really hard to do. I mean, it's almost impossible for any guard. Any guard that's played the position, you'll know how hard it is to pass around a 6'10" guy like Bam Adebayo off the dribble and make the read appropriately.
And it's like a one-hand pass situation sometimes as well.
Yeah, I mean, Mo, it's really, and then the next play, he'll come down, take on the double team, get around Bam, and finish with a one-hand shot at the rim. I mean, Mo, he really made some incredible plays. So you say, what can you do? I mean, Mo, those are like you don't teach people to do that. He just has an incredible feel, for the game. And that is something that I think Coach Malone and the staff said, Jamal, here's what they're doing. They're pre-rotating so that you don't have your first option, which is to come off hard and look for your shot. Second option is look for
Jokic.
And then the third option is find the guy that's pre-rotating, find his guy that he left from. I mean, do you know how quick all of this is happening? And crazy. Jamal Murray did it to like perfection. I mean, so you said, what can they do? I mean, Mo, like, I would take my chances with that. If you told me, that Jamal Murray is going to be flawless in that for 48 minutes, I would be like, no way. That's just too difficult to do. But he did it. So I'll live with that and say, you know what? We'll see if he does it again. Because, Mo, I don't believe that a guard can do that consistently. But maybe he can. That's just...
He only needs to do it 2 more times. Only needs to do it 2 more times to get a championship ring.
But that's a credit to him. I mean, Jamal Murray was that good tonight. He was really that good.
Absolutely. Before we go, let's talk about one more thing. Chris Paul said in an interview recently that his daughter comes home from school and tells him that other kids at school during the lunch break laugh at her because her dad hasn't won a championship ring. And the high school bullies got more ammunition today when the Phoenix Suns announced that they had waived Chris Paul, meaning they've bought out his salary and cut him from the team, right? Or they can stretch out the salary. I don't know what they're going to do with it. It's only 15 million of his 30 million is guaranteed for next year. What does all of this mean, BJ? And where are we going to see Chris Paul next season?
Well, I want to be very careful with this because, I want to keep what I'm going to say in this proper perspective. Chris Paul has had a Hall of Fame career. Chris Paul has been an incredible contributor to the game, how he's represented himself, his family, the NBA. I mean, he's been
the president of the Players Association.
I mean, he's had an amazing career. Now, the criticism that we have, if there's any criticism at all, is if there's one thing that's glaring in his career is that he hasn't won a championship. Now, that's the one piece that's missing from literally an incredible career.
A Hall of Fame career, even without the championship.
Okay. Now, I think, and that's a fair criticism, right? I mean, it's a fair, right? Now, it has nothing to do, what I don't know. I don't know the story, what you just mentioned about his family. I don't know any of those stories. But what I do know is that, okay, whatever happened this year or in years that's built up to this is like, okay, where is he at in his career right now? And I think it's fair to say, Mo, he's on the downside of his career. He's 37, something like that now. And all of a sudden now, Mo, the clock is ticking. And I don't know how many more runs he has left in him where he can be the Chris Paul that we have come to expect. Because he seems, for whatever reason, bad timing, bad luck, he just gets hurt at the worst time. I mean, it's just been game 6 and he comes up with some, hamstring or hip flexor or something. And it just seemed to have had some impact on his inability to get over the top. So where do I think he's gonna land? I think, Mo, he probably at this stage is looking to go to a contender where he can contribute. I don't think, Mo, he's the first guy for sure. I don't think he's the second guy anymore.
He's the first guy off the bench now.
Yeah,
he will be sixth man of the year. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would be crazy if he just stayed with the Suns, just comes back on a veteran minimum? Because then by waiving him, it gives them the mid-level exception so they can sign someone to the mid-level and they can re-sign Chris Paul.
I don't think so. I think it's time for Chris to move. And here's why. Here's why I say that. If Monty Williams was the coach, I would say yes, because you could do with him what you saw Coach Spo did with Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Because that's a valued point. If you said, we just want to put you in a position where you're going to be able to maintain your consistency through an 82 game schedule with a chance to go deep in the playoffs. And it's probably better for you, for our team, to have you coming off the bench like Kyle Lowry. I think that's a very, that to me makes sense. And he knows the system, so forth and so on. Now they're going to have a new system of play. They got new coaches. They're going to have a new style. And clearly now, you have to figure out how to beat Jokic. Okay? You got to be, he as long as Jamal Murray and him are healthy, they're going to be the opponents that everyone's going to be shooting for in the Western Conference. I think even more so now than the Lakers.
Good luck, DeAndre Ayton.
And
the Warriors.
And you're talking and the Warriors. So I think Denver now has moved into a different category. And if they win it this year, they're going to be even better next year because they're going to have the confidence. Okay, their role players are going to be better. They're going to have more confidence. They're going to feel better about their situation. So I think it's probably best for him to move on.
Do you see him at the Lakers? Because that's what a lot of people are saying.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to like the Pistons or something like that. I really would.
Oh, wow. I like the Spurs. Go and play with Wemby for a little bit. They've got the money to pay him. Go play with Wembanyama, get him some nice, easy looks. I would like to see that.
You know, I had to be careful, Mo, with him. You're talking about a 36, 37-year-old point guard. When you say play, Mo, like you're talking, you know, I want to keep him between 24 and 28 minutes a night.
Maybe that's a better word. Go mentor him with all your experience in the league.
Yeah, I would like to see him play in a system that he's familiar with. I would like to see him play where he can contribute as much as he can. It's like I told you with LeBron at the beginning of the season. Just give me what you got.
What about,
because you don't know.
What about my personal hell of him joining the Boston Celtics?
Well, you already have the sixth man of the year.
I know.
But it doesn't make sense. But I think, you know what I think would be a good place for him is Milwaukee.
Yeah. Definitely. With Giannis.
And the reason I say that is because he can play a limited role, but contribute in a big way.
And how many times did I tell you? How many times did I tell you this season they need another ball handler off the bench?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He can play with Drew Holiday. He plays behind Drew Holiday. They can play together. He doesn't need to be the leader of the team. He just needs to you know, have moments, have timely moments. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
keep your minutes down. You know, we don't need you to carry anything. If you make shots, great. If you don't, great. We need another ball handler. We would love to have a guy who could have experience and manage the second unit. I think that would be a great place for him. There's no pressure. There's no, you know what? You're just here to contribute at the end of the year. Okay. It'd be nice if you could stay healthy the whole year. That's a blessing, but we really need you to come out. So I don't think the Lakers is a good place for him. I think he's at this stage, I think he's probably, and if he wants to win a championship, I think he should look for a place where he can do like what Kyle Lowry is doing. Kyle Lowry and what's his name? Brogdon. Brogdon, yeah, those are really valuable positions. I would love to see him play with the Warriors. I think that would be a good place for him.
I think Warriors is a good
Okay.
place for anyone, except
Yeah, I
for
think that would be a good place for
Kuminga
him.
and Paul. But
You know what I mean? That would be a good place for him. Because you always can utilize a ball handler, especially coming off the bench, you know?
yep, especially on the value contract, not being on 30 million anymore. He'll be on a minimum salary.
Yeah,
So
yeah, be on a minimum salary. I think be a good place for him.
let us know on social media or join the Discord server that's linked in the description of this podcast. You can join the conversation in there where you guys think Chris Paul is going to end up. And we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Hoop Genius podcast. Ready for game 4, BJ? Who's your prediction for game 4?
I'm going with Denver. I think Denver. I think they are. I think they're ready. I just think this team is ready to win. They're 2 wins away. They're focused, and but it's going to be a tough game. I mean, I expect Miami. However, I think this is going to be a tough turnaround. You know what? It's Wednesday night game on Friday. A short turnaround. So but I'm going to say Denver.
Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. And after that game, we'll be here wrapping it up for you. So make sure you subscribe to the Hoop Genius podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want more great NBA content, like I said earlier, subscribe to my new newsletter that is in the description as well. And on YouTube, I've been doing video breakdowns, going through game footage and looking at the keys to the game. Shout out to everyone who's shared that. Shout out to everyone who's watched that. Numbers have been fantastic so far. So I appreciate each and every one of you. But we'll be back very soon. Don't go anywhere. Don't miss an episode. And most importantly, get buckets.